I want to start off by saying, if you saw the thumbnail and you clicked this video, you are going to get what you're looking for. For those of you who this video is just randomly playing for, I'm going to let you know right off the bat. Bumblebee, Jetfire, and some dude named Davy lose their life subscription in this issue, and it's wild the way it happens. I also want to preference, if you are writing a series with established lore, established characters, or you're doing a retelling, this is how you do it. You introduce the characters and you get right into action. I'm loving this. But guys, you know who I am. I am the Blaze Deity. I host a channel where the hottest gaming and comic content is indeed like a religion. And as you can tell, we're going to be doing a review of the 2023 through now, present, or 2024 issues of the Transformers, written by Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer. We start off this series with a gentleman named, I believe his name is Sparky. I'm not sure. He's called Sparky. That might be a nickname. That might be a code name. That might actually be his name, but we don't know. But Sparky is in this bar, and it seems he's drunken himself to sleep, and he is having a PTSD-induced dream, right? Not saying that the alcohol didn't help with that, but he's definitely having a dream. And within this dream, he is seeing war helicopters. He is seeing one of his comrades being unsubscribed from life or in really, really bad shape. And then I guess he also sees the exploding of a rocket ship. All things that point me to believe that this series is happening in the 1980s. And it is fitting because that's when the Transformers actually debuted. A little history lesson here. Transformers actually debuted in 1984 as a television series and as a toy line. It was a collaboration between the American company Hasbro and the Japanese company Takara Tomy. These are robots in disguise. Like we said in one of our earlier videos, the 80s was about either big buff men fighting evil people who look like they're from the Crypt Keeper's den, or like a bunch of walking undead, or big giant robots. And that's what we're getting, the big giant robots. But because of the PTSD induced dream with the helicopters that I think are like NATO or UH series or even Huey possibly, and because of the explosion of that rocket ship that I see, I'm guessing this is happening in the 80s, or the war at least is happening in the late 1970s or into the 80s, leading me to believe that it either is a late phase of the Cold War or a term of the Iraq War, which was 1980 to like 1988. And the rocket exploding might be the Challenger rocket ship exploding in 1986. So with those context clues, I really do think that this is taking place in the 80s. But we start off with Sparky having this dream and then is awoken by his son Spike. Now, I believe Spike is going to be the main character, is going to hop back and forth, I believe, between Sparky and his son Spike. And Spike is asking his father, like, where have you been? Like, I've been looking for you. What's going on? How long have you been here? And from the context clues, you can tell Sparky has definitely been drinking his feelings and emotions away. And he's like, I haven't been here too long. I was just running some errands. But luckily, the bartender, Danny, is his name, says, oh, he's been here for a while. He's been here since noon. Really holding Sparky accountable. And that's usually what happens. You see that in a lot of fiction, like when there's somebody who really frequents a bar there. And even in real life, the bartender gets to know you. They get to know your habits. And sometimes, they will tell on you. This is a real thing. This is like real cultural bar thing with bar regulars, right? And in the background, you have this other guy named like Jerry, right? He's just your bar goer, right? And he's like, yo, I saw this spaceship crash into the earth. Like, it was huge and everything last night. And of course, everyone's like, yeah, sure, whatever, right? But Sparky and Spike are having this conversation, and Sparky notices a telescope that belong to a character named Jimmy. Now, I don't know who Jimmy is. I'm sure Jimmy will be introduced later, but apparently something befell Jimmy and he is no longer subscribed to life. And Spike is like, yeah, this is Jimmy's telescope. And when I use it, it helps me remember the good times, we all had looking up at the stars. And Sparky's like, why do you have something to remember him by? And Spike is like, hey, like, I'm not going to live my life like he didn't exist. So I guess Jimmy was of some significant importance to Sparky and Spike. But we'll get into that. He reveals that he's going to go with his friend Carly and they're going to look at the stars. Who eventually comes and picks him up in the dopest van I think I've ever seen. This is like nerdcore to the max. Like you can see like it has hints of like big like 80-esque, fiction, like the Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing. Like you have a dragon in the background, you have a barbarian, you got a wizard. Like I love it. I don't know if this is like a Lord of the Rings reference or like a Conan the Barbarian reference or like I don't know what is going on here, but I really, really like this van. So Carly's cool with me. So they eventually go to the site where they're going to do the stargazing, and they actually have a conversation. They have a conversation about life and how Carly wants to, pursue art, and how Spike wants to actually be an astronaut, which is something apparently Sparky is against. And he hasn't broken that to his father yet. He hasn't shared that idea with his pops. And Carly's like, you're going to have to tell him. If this is something you're adamant about, if this is something that you want to do, you should tell him. But she also like apologizes for like what he's going through and what his father's going through. The lack of communication between the two, the tension between the two. She's like, I'm sorry that you're going through this. And they have like a real touching friend moment. And this isn't to say like anything, but that's how people should be. You should be worried about the people close to you. You should ask them and, show empathy and compassion when you can tell they're going through something. It never hurts. But we go into them falling into the crag. And falling into the crag or falling into the site that they're at, this abandoned site that they're at, they end up falling into the ship of the Transformers, the Cybertron ship, right? And within it are robots. They're like, what is that? They're like, well, it looks like it's robots, but it looks like they haven't been moving. And all of a sudden, Jetfire flies in and he starts waking up these Transformers with the help of another computer called like Teletron 1, right? And Teletron 1 has the ability to reconstitute the unconscious or presumably dead Transformers. And the very first thing that happens is it reconstitutes Starscream. And Starscream, ever the coward, takes this moment to, after thanking Jetfire for allowing him to be reconstituted, blows away Bumblebee on the spot. Now, for a background on the Transformers and who they are and what they do, just a little bit of their persona or characters. Starscream has always been and will forever be a coward, always compensating for his lack of power or lack of leadership ability. He is the Decepticon that is, brushed aside. He's never really taken seriously. He's the right hand who's more of a tush kisser than anything, right? So he takes this moment to really try and establish himself. So he blows away Bumblebee, who cannot defend himself on the spot. And Jetfire's like, yo, whoa, what is happening? Like, what are you doing? What's going on, Starscream? But what he doesn't know is that the Decepticon and the Autobots have been at war for centuries. He's out of the loop. He thought everybody was cool. He thought everybody was friends. He thought it was all kumbaya. And he comes back to find out that both factions are at war. He tries to stop Starscream and then actually gets blown back himself in Starscream's attempt to shake him off and says, look, you have no idea what's going on. These guys are the bad guys. I'm doing what's right. I wear my crest proudly, and I'm not gonna take it easy on them. I'm going to do what I got to do. But during this conversation, Teletron is reconstituting another Transformer, and it so happens to be the man himself, one of the most prolific leaders in all of fiction, Optimus Prime. Now, Optimus, I guess during his unconsciousness, somehow, became a wrestling fan. He was probably having dreams of WWF on some sort of Earth frequency, because the first thing he does is give Starscream one of the nastiest clotheslines I've probably ever seen that wasn't handed out by John Bradshaw Layfield. He literally clotheslines this man and is holding him by one of his appendages while he does it, so he gets every bit of that robotic forearm. And when you thought that was it, he immediately takes him to Suplex City. And now it's on. You have Decepticon getting reconstituted. You have Autobots getting reconstituted. And Ratchet ends up joining the fray and attacks Starscream, knocking him off balance. And then as Starscream's trying to get himself back up, Skywarp is immediately reconstituted. And now we got a problem, because now we are down a Autobot and the Decepticons' numbers are rising. And Starscream, though a coward, very strategic to a degree, says, hey, Teletron is reviving us randomly. Whatever robots are in the vicinity, we gotta bring our Decepticon brethren on this side, right? We gotta split it. During this time, you have Optimus saying the same thing to Ratchet. Hey, get who we can and put them in that trailer, and we're gonna get up out of here, right? Because of that, things are split. Now it's really a battlefield. And we have Soundwave, who is reconstituted, who is really a big gun amongst the Decepticons. And he immediately targets Optimus. Optimus is blasted at, and he is slowed only because he notices that B has been taken care of defenseless. And he sits to actually mourn his companion. This is something very, very real and something very, very true to Optimus Prime. He takes his leadership role very seriously and his bond with each one of his teammates very, very seriously. You see that in the more modern adaptation of the Transformers series that started in like 2007, starring Shia LaBeouf. When things happened to Bumblebee or Ratchet or Jazz, he took it really, really seriously. Even though he is a prolific leader, even though he's all about business on the battlefield, he takes the time to mourn the ones he loses. And at that moment, Starscream hops on him without hesitation. Starscream, the forever opportunist, sees this as his moment to try and take down Optimus. But we have Carly and we have Spike watching behind the rubble, and they assume correctly that the Decepticons are indeed the bad guys, and they go to help Optimus. Optimus is just out of reach of a blaster that could defend himself with, and they push it toward him, and then they help him get up out of there. Optimus is able to fight back, release himself from Starscream's grip, and in one of the dopest panels, which I probably should have used as the thumbnail, runs out of the fire carrying both Carly and Spike. And then the traditional catchphrase of the Transformers, pretty much the Autobots mainly. He's like, Ratchet, transform and roll out, right? And they're out of there. Literally, Starscream's like, we're about to go after them. And Jetfire regains consciousness and says, oh my God, Optimus, wait for me, I'm coming with you. And he takes off behind them, and Starscream's like, they are not getting away. So Starscream and Skywrath just follow. They are in hot pursuit, but there's a problem. Both sides are low on energy, and the energy it takes for them to function is called Energon, which is what this whole battle between Decepticon and Autobots is mainly about. But we'll get into that probably in a later issue. So they have to stop their pursuit because they are low on energy. When the Autobots finally make distance and make space so they can regroup from the Decepticon, we have Jetfire who comes in and he apologizes. He apologizes to Optimus and the Autobots, but he's in horrible shape. He's like, listen, I've been gone for so long. I didn't know about the war. I didn't know you've been promoted to Prime. I had no idea what was going on. And he's in really bad shape. And Optimus is like, yo, wait, just save your energy. Let me try and heal you. He's opening his chest like he's going to use his spark to re-energize Jetfire. But we have Ratchet who stops him and says, hey, look, you might be able to heal his wounds, but we can't stop the inevitable. And unfortunately, Jetfire passes. So that's already 2 Autobots down in the first issue, but it does not stop there. You have Sparky and his coworker Davey, who actually picked him up from the bar. That's a cool friend, like a friend who comes by the bar and makes sure you're good and picks you up and takes you home, and they know you've been like inebriated or drinking your feelings away. It's a pretty decent individual, but unfortunately, he meets his end by the hands of Starscream. See, Starscream ends up going to the plant that they're working at to steal energy, and they stumble upon him. And Davey tries to make a run to his vehicle just for Starscream to scoop him up and pretty much paint his hand with his insides. That's as far as I can tell. He unsubscribes him from life like he's making wine in his bare hands. That's pretty much what I can say to get away with it on YouTube. But I am hyper invested in this series already. Daniel Johnson and Mike Spicer just probably gave me my new fix on Transformers, and I'm going to be tuning in every issue and giving you guys more reviews. I personally think that this is a solid 9. This is a 9.5. This is almost a perfect issue because there's so much going on. We have one of the main characters dealing with PTSD, whether it's them being a soldier or the unfortunate demise of a friend who was an astronaut. We have a main character with a goal that's in direct contention with their father's ideology, probably due to safety and fear reasons. We have the whole war between the Decepticons and the Autobots, and presumably the loss of 2 of the most popular Autobots. I don't know if they'll come back. I cannot promise they will, but it'd be really dope. We see that in a lot of the Transformers lore. Even the 2023 adaptation of the Transformers, we thought they were unalived, then Transformers came back. Even in the 2007 adaptation of Transformers, we thought certain Transformers didn't make it, and they made it. So I can't promise you that they're gone forever, but if this is how you start the issue, and if that's how you're going to continue to push through the issue, then go for it. 9.5. I think it's a great series. And if you guys want any recommendations on Transformers, you guys do want to hop into the Transformers series. Like I said, this comic came out in the fall of 2023 and it's continuing right now. It's March or February. Yeah, we're February right now. So in March, I believe issue 6 comes out. So we're like already 5-6 issues in. And I cannot wait because I'm going to be pumping these videos out weekly. You might get 2 of these videos up until the point we're caught up during the week. So, guys, if you want recommendation on Transformers, I would say take a look at the 1984 TV show, or if you really want to get into it, a more later adaptation, maybe the Transformers, 2004 that was coming on Toonami, right, with the mini-cons and all that. That was incredible, and I think that was like my real introduction into Transformers. If you want something more realistic and a little bit more serious with a hint of comedy, like I said, the 2007 adaptation with Shia LaBeouf is great, and then the 2023 Transformers movie is actually what I think these comics are going to be based off of. But guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Let me know if there is a book, a series, or anything that you would like me to personally review. It could be anime, it could be a movie, it could be a book, it could be manga, it could be a comic book. Just let me know in the comments. Let me know if you're actually keeping up with this series. Actually, let me know in the comments who is your personal favorite Transformer. It could be a Decepticon, it can be an Autobot, but you guys let me know, and I will catch you in the next video.